Going on, everybody? It's Key Time Sports coming back with another one to talk about my reactions from week 8 of the NFL season. There was a lot that happened in week 8 of the NFL season, and I am going to start it off with the very first game that started in week 8, the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Rams. Now, there was a very controversial play that happened. Everybody in the world knew that that should have been a face mask 15-yard penalty, but the referees didn't see it from their vantage point. I don't know how that could be. Maybe the NFL needs to institute a overhead referee that'll see it from like the top of the stadium and from the side. But we cannot let the NFL, you cannot let something like that happen. And in the game, it was so close. That play basically ended all hope for the Minnesota Vikings to come back and tie it. So a lot of things happened in that game. First off, I want to get to the Rams running game. It cracked over 100 yards to be exact, 107. Vikings run game only had 64 yards. That was basically non-existent. Sam Darnold, he was 18 of 25 for 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Matthew Stafford, 25 of 34, 279 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. The Rams are an average team or below average team. The Vikings, when they were 5-0 and on that 5-game winning streak, everybody was up in arms about them. Now, since they've lost 2 straight, what does this say about the Vikings? Does this say that they benefited from a fortunate their first 5 games? They benefited from a fortunate, easy early season schedule? Or did this show us that the Vikings are really just a above average team like everybody, like I clearly stated at the start of the season? The Vikings will be a above average team when it comes to winning games this year. But as far as the Rams, they're 3-4, still have a chance to get into the wild card and make a run at the playoffs. Do they? Who knows? Now, also, third down situations for the Vikings. They did not help out much. They were 2 of 7 on third down, the Vikings were, and the Rams were 4 of 10 on third down. So, third down conversion, nobody had really had success in this game. But one thing about it, turnovers. There was some turnovers that played a part in this game. The Rams threw a turnover. The Rams had a turnover in this game, but the Vikings did not score off of it. Basically, from the first quarter to the second half, the offense was non-existent. The Vikings offense just kept kicking field goals, and field goals will get you beat. You have to score touchdowns if you want to win games. So all in all, this was a entertaining Thursday night game. Hopefully we have another entertaining Thursday night game this coming week. And the Rams, they are still in playoff contention for a wild card spot. The next game I want to talk about is the Philadelphia Eagles and the Cincinnati Bengals. I said Philadelphia would win this game. Jalen Hurts had an efficient day, 16 of 20, 236 yards, 1 touchdown pass, 0 interceptions. But the Eagles' running game, like I've been saying throughout the season, the Eagles' running game has been efficient. 161 yards and 3 touchdowns when it comes to running on the ground. Now, the one pass that Jalen Hurts, the one touchdown pass Jalen Hurts had throwing through the air, that one was to Devontae Smith. Yes, that one was to Devontae Smith. So as far as the Eagles offense, it's improving week after week. And as far as the Bengals, Joe Burrow, 26 of 37, 234 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The Bengals are 3-5. They are on the outside looking in on the at the playoffs in the AFC. Is this team a below average team or a slightly above average team with a quarterback that can carry you to the playoffs? I believe that the Bengals now are a slightly above average team with a quarterback that can take them to the playoffs. Now, can the Bengals make it to the playoffs? They're 3-5. They'll have to win they'll have to win 8 of their remaining games to even get into the playoffs. Because if anybody is looking at the standings right now in the AFC when it comes to the playoff picture, the playoff picture is pretty crowded when it comes to the AFC. And the playoff picture is crowded when it comes to the NFC too. Eagles, they have the Washington the Washington Commanders to think about when it comes to winning the NFC East. But as of right now, I see the Bengals. They are a slightly above average team with Joe Burrow at quarterback. Do they get to the playoffs? It remains to be seen. I'm not going to say that the Bengals are going to make it to the playoffs. I'm not even going to say that the Eagles are going to make it to the playoffs off of this game. I'm just going to say that both of these teams want to make the playoffs, and it remains to be seen. So in this game, when it comes to statistics, a lot of statistics, I watched this game, and a lot of statistics caught my eye. Like, the Bengals were so efficient on third down, it doesn't make sense that they lost this game. When you are 10 of 13 on third down, how do you lose a game? How do you lose a game like this magnitude? I am going to tell you. Turnovers. They had 2 turnovers, and the Eagles scored 2 touchdowns immediately off of those turnovers. So you're already putting yourself behind the 8 ball, down 14. Yeah, down 14 already. Then in the fourth quarter, you're basically trying to fight your way back to get it down to a manageable deficit. That way, if you do have a chance to win the game, you go down and score, have an onside kick or potentially a block punt on the Eagles' behalf here and there to win the game. But the Bengals did not do that, and the Bengals' offense is really inept because Jamar Chase, you have him there. T. Higgins is in and out with injury, and also when it comes to contract disputes, that's still lingering with T. Higgins. He wants a new contract. So the Bengals, they have problems on and off the field when it comes to their players. And that is why I think that the Bengals, I believe they might have to take a back seat this season. They might have to take a back seat, and they might be watching the playoffs from home. They might be on vacation by the time we get to Christmas if they keep on losing. The next game I want to cover is the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. Now, this game, I was surprised by the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, Jameis Winston had a great day, 27 of 41, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Lamar Jackson also had a good day, 23 of 38, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Only thing I can say about this game was the Ravens, the Browns. The Browns stole a game. I can say that because I did not see the Browns winning. Obviously, all of the stuff that has went on with Deshaun Watson, I've been keeping tabs on that, keeping up to date on that. Also, when it also comes to Jameis Winston, he just came into the fold. Now he is going to be able to really take this offense at the helm. He really put on a show Sunday in the game versus the Ravens. I believe that the Browns, they need to keep Jameis Winston at the fold throughout the rest of the season. Because with him, you know that you have a good enough chance of winning. And he already showed you that he can win. That was his first ever start in a Cleveland Browns uniform. So as far as the run game for the Baltimore Ravens, 124 yards, excuse me, 124 yards. And it was basically, the running game was there, but not to the degree like we have seen from the past 3 or 4 games. And with the Cleveland Browns rushing, it was basically just two guys carrying the load, Nick Chubb and Devontae Foreman. No, excuse me, Dante Foreman, that's his name. Excuse me for that. So when you look at the Cleveland Browns, can they go on a winning streak? It's hard to say right now, but like I've always said, I'm not surprised because division games, I'm going to say, when you're playing your divisional opponent, they know you better than any other team in the NFL. The teams that are in your division that you play against twice a year, and if you're lucky in the playoffs, sometimes you can play them a third time, but the division games, those are the same two teams. They play each other twice a year. They know their best plays. They know the plays that they are not too good at. They know their strengths and they know their weaknesses. And the Browns, they knew what the Ravens' weaknesses were, and they attacked that. When you see as far as third down in this game, third down, basically the Ravens, they were just awful. 2 of 10 on third down. The Browns were 8 of 15. The Browns were very efficient on third down. Obviously, both of these teams had the same amount of yards. Ravens had 387. The Browns had 401. This game was very entertaining, and this was maybe the upset of the week. The upset of the week in the NFL because nobody expected the Cleveland Browns of all teams to win a game like this against the Ravens, especially with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, he is on pace to have over 2,000 yards this season. He has an average of 185 yards. He has an average of 125 yards per game. So if he keeps that up, he will eclipse 2,000 yards rushing for the second time in his career. The next game I want to cover is the Tennessee Titans and the Detroit Lions. Now, like I said in my prediction show, I knew this game was going to be a blowout by the time the end of the third quarter, the Lions will pull out all of their starters, and that's exactly what they did. Titans, no competition. The Lions showed you that the Titans don't even belong on the field with them. Mason Rudolph, he had I don't know what kind of game you could say that he had, but hey, he was the quarterback for the Titans. He was 22 of 38, 266 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. look, just like I said, we all know that the Titans they are what they are. They are not supposed to be a good they weren't supposed to be a good team this season, and they are not. They were like I said, at the start of the season, I put the Titans as one of the bottom of the barrel teams, and that's exactly what they are. Titans have a revolving door at quarterback. They've started Zach Mettenberger. They've started Mason Rudolph. And they've started the turnover machine himself, Will Levis. So you don't know who the Titans are going to start from week to week. That's one thing that we got down pat. Don't know who the Titans are going to start. They don't have no consistency across the board. Everything is just inconsistent in the Titans organization. That's what it is. As far as the Detroit Lions, I mean, Jared Goff had another good day. Well, Jared Goff really didn't have to do anything because the special teams really carried the load for the Lions. You got Jared Goff, 12 or 15, 85 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That was almost a perfect game that Jared Goff passed for. Then the rushing game for the Detroit Lions, they had over 100 yards. And also, it was just an avalanche after the first quarter. An avalanche. Because when it comes to third down for both of these teams, now, Tennessee, they were 3 of 11. Detroit was 3 of 9. But with Detroit, they had special teams touchdown, punt return touchdown, kickoff return touchdowns. They had multiple kickoff return touchdowns and punt return touchdowns in this game. So that's why this was basically a blowout. So the Detroit Lions are at the top of the NFC after 8 games. Now, as basically where the standings are in the NFL, we could see a Super Bowl with the Detroit Lions and Kansas City Chiefs. And everybody knows, as far as when it comes to the music industry, that is Taylor Swift versus Eminem in the Super Bowl. So I'm not saying that is going to be the Super Bowl matchup, but it's certainly looking like that right now after 8 weeks of the season. So, all in all, Lions did what they had to do in winning this game. Tops in the NFC. Let's see if they could keep control of the NFC and have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. The next game I want to cover is the Arizona Cardinals and the Miami Dolphins. Now, Tua had a good game coming back off of injury. He didn't get hit. He didn't get hit, so I was happy to see that. Now, one thing, when it comes to the Miami Dolphins, obviously their offensive statistics throughout the season, they've been one of the worst offenses in the league. When you get Tua back, we saw that with Tua back, their offense had a little bit more urgency, a little more get up and go. Tua, 28 of 38, 234 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Kyler Murray, 26 of 36, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. The Cardinals, they are. One thing about the Cardinals that I've noticed, they are not a team that'll light up the scoreboard with all of the long plays, long touchdowns, and long drives. But if the Cardinals, I've noticed this, if the Cardinals are in a game and they keep it close and they have a chance to win it at the end, they will. So this game versus the Dolphins, that's exactly what they did. Starting off the game, the Cardinals did not have any type of efficiency at all. But throughout the game. They kept it close. The defense kept the Cardinals in the game. And then when it got to the fourth quarter and the Cardinals scored a touchdown and they made it, they had a 2-point deficit late in the fourth quarter. I was saying to myself, I was saying that the Cardinals are going to win this game. The Dolphins, they've let the Cardinals gain too much momentum. And I said, when the Cardinals get the ball back, they can go down the field and win it. And that's exactly what they did. Now, Tua had a good game. Offense for the Dolphins had a good game. As far as third down for both teams, efficiency-wise, both of these teams were tops off the chart. 7 of 13 for Arizona Cardinals on third down. As far as efficiency for offense, Dolphins 11 of 15 on third down as far as the Dolphins offense. This game, it was a shootout. It became a shootout going into the fourth quarter. And then the Cardinals are 4-4. They have a possibility, if they keep winning games like they should, they have a possibility of sneaking into the playoffs and being a wild card. And when it comes to the Cardinals, the way this team is looking, I wouldn't be surprised if they win a playoff game. I certainly wouldn't, because this team has the makings of shaking up the playoff standings. That's what the Cardinals have. A team that is young and upcoming, that has a dominant young wide receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr., and plus they are able to generate offense and yards and keep their offense on the field all the time. So, congratulations on the Cardinals getting back to 500. Let's see if the Cardinals can build off of this win and make it to the playoffs. The next game I want to cover is the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. New York Jets fans, you might want to turn away from your TVs, your phones, or wherever you may be listening or looking at me from. The New York Jets, 2-6 right now. They have an easy schedule coming down the stretch. There is a glimmer of hope. But the New York Jets, they have got to start winning games starting this week, and they have got to start a winning streak. They haven't won a game since the Patriots. Since week 3 of the Patriots, they haven't won a game. And you see where, I hate to say it, but is this the downfall of Aaron Rodgers' career that we are seeing? Now look, Jets fans, I'm trying to be optimistic as far as a journalist when it comes to your fan base. I know that the Jets over the years, they haven't had nice things, and when they do have nice things, it blows up in their face. But Aaron Rodgers right now, as far as this offensive line, I came into the season saying that, is the offensive line going to hold up? Obviously, the offensive line has not held up. Aaron Rodgers, 17 of 28, 233 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The rushing game for the Jets cracked over 100 yards. Basically, outside of that, everybody else was basically like just, it seemed like they were just bodies out there. Now, the Jets, as of right now, they are out of sorts. Don't know where to turn to. Don't know if they need new pieces to come in for a late season push to the playoffs. And everything that's in-house right now is not in order for the New York Jets. I said at the start of the season that the Jets, they are not going to the Super Bowl. And I had said, I'm like, Who knows if they make the playoffs? And now there's a possibility where they might not even make the playoffs. They could be out of it by the time we get to Thanksgiving. Now, hopefully, I think with Aaron Rodgers, I believe that he can go on one of those runs, but does he have the team and does he have the players to do it? It all remains to be seen. Now, Devontae Adams has shown up, has gave out, they have incorporated him in the game plan, but he just got there. It's gonna take him a while to learn the offensive playbook down to a T. So the New York Jets right now this is a microcosm of what the New York Jets are right now. A team that have so much expectations, but the losses have brought the fan base back down to earth. And I was trying to bring Jets fans down to earth before the preseason even started. But as of right now, they are 2-6, currently tied with the Patriots for worst record in the AFC East. Now, as far as the Patriots, this was an upset win. Like I said, when it comes to division rival games, they know your division rivals know what you are going to run before you run it. I'm not going to say this is not from game film, practice, or whatever. They know what the Jets knew what the Patriots run best. The Patriots knew what the Jets' best plays were. I wasn't surprised by this at all. Well, I was surprised by the Patriots winning this game, but I wasn't surprised by the game being so close because, like I've been saying, division games, they're always going to be close. Now, as far as the third down efficiency for both teams, New York Jets were 4 of 10. The Patriots were 7 of 15. Also, turnovers in this case. Nobody had any turnovers, but the Jets went for it on fourth down twice in this game, and they didn't make the conversions on third down or fourth down, and that is why they lost the game. So, New York Jets fans, New York Jets got to start winning some games, and it starts this week. If they do not win the next game, they will be out of the playoff chase because no team has ever started a season 2-7 and made the playoffs. There has only been, and for that case, here's a history lesson. No 2-7 team has started and made the playoffs in NFL history. There was only there, and the teams out there who are 3-5, there has only been one team in NFL history that has started 3-5 and made it to the playoffs, and that was my dearly beloved Cowboys back in the 2018 season. So, for all you 3-5 teams out there, there is a glimmer of hope for y'all too. But 3-5 teams, they got to start getting on a good foot and winning, because you can't lose too many more games or else you will be out of the playoff chase entirely. The next game I want to cover is the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I said Baker Mayfield would throw 2 interceptions in this game, and he did. And I said the Atlanta Falcons would win this game, and the Atlanta Falcons did. Now, Kirk Cousins, he had a very efficient day. 23 of 29, 276 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Baker Mayfield, 37 of 50, 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So, the Tampa Bay rushing game was non-existent. They only had 102 yards. The Atlanta rushing game was better in terms of total yards, but they had the same amount of rushing yards. Both teams did. Like I said, this game, I wasn't surprised that this game was close. Where the Falcons won this game at is strictly those interceptions that Baker Mayfield threw. As far as third down wise, both of these teams were very efficient on third down. The Falcons, they were 6 of 12 on third down. The Buccaneers were 9 of 14 on third down. And also, when it comes to fourth down, Falcons went for it on fourth down twice, got converted both times. Buccaneers went for it on fourth down twice, converted once, didn't convert on the last play of the game, which it was that fourth down. Now, I believe the Atlanta Falcons are going to win this division. Starting off the season, I said that it would be the New Orleans Saints, but obviously the New Orleans Saints have lost 6 straight games, and the Falcons, they have a game and a half lead on everybody in the division when it comes to division standings in the NFC South. So I see the Atlanta Falcons mainly being a dark horse team to make the playoffs. And obviously the Atlanta Falcons are going to make the playoffs since they have won versus the Buccaneers both times. They've won versus the Panthers once already this season. And against the New Orleans Saints, they have yet to play the Atlanta Falcons have won against the Saints already this season. So they have a perfect division record. The Atlanta Falcons, you might as well go ahead and say that they are the NFC South champions after week 8, because I don't see anybody in their division going toe-to-toe with them. You see Tampa Bay, they are up and down already. And like I said, Tampa Bay, they have been nursing some injuries all throughout the season, since even before the season. In the preseason, they was nursing injuries. But all in all, Atlanta Falcons, they are the top team in that division. I expect them to win this division and make the playoffs. The next game I want to talk about is the Green Bay Packers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, this game right here, it was a tale of two halves, because both of these teams, nobody could really gain control of this game. And I looked at all of the games that I am talking about. I've looked at them in their entirety. Now, nobody could take control of this Packers-Jaguars game, because Jordan Love, he had a decent day. I'm gonna just say that he was 14 of 22, 196 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. That interception came on the very first drive of the game. And Trevor Lawrence, he had a good game, but in the end, Jaguars, as far as that turnover, that proved costly. Now, 21 of 32, 308 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. I am not disputing that Trevor Lawrence didn't do all the things he needed to win. Now, since he's been on a little bit of a streak here in the last few games, throwing for over 250 yards, he's done well. But doing well and winning games are two different things. And plus, the Jaguars, they don't have any consistency in their run game. They only had 91 yards rushing. The Green Bay Packers had almost 200 yards rushing. To be exact, they had 170 yards rushing. The Packers in this case, I said that the Packers would win this game, but I had said I wouldn't be surprised if this was a close game. I said that the Packers would win off of a walk-off field goal. Now, one thing about this game, I believe where the Packers won this game at is obviously third down. Packers were 3 of 11 on third down. The Jaguars were 1 of 9 on third down. And let me tell you, the Jaguars, they should have won this game outright. I believe if Trevor Lawrence doesn't turn the ball over, that they win that game. Because in a game this close, if you make one mistake, that's ultimately the game. And that one mistake that Trevor Lawrence made in throwing that interception, that was ultimately the game right there. So Green Bay, one thing I can say about Green Bay and the entire NFC North, Minnesota, Chicago, Green Bay, and Detroit, does this whole division, can this whole division make it to the playoffs? I've never seen that happen. I would not be surprised if we have an entire division bracket get to the playoffs, because all of these teams in the NFC North have won at least 4 games. I've never seen an entire division make it to the playoffs. I've seen 1 or 2, the most is 3 teams in the playoffs, but never a 4th one. We might see that this season, everybody. So watch out for every team in the NFC North. Just watch out for all of them. The next game I want to cover is the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans. Texans bounce back, get back on the good foot, and win at home. Now, the Texans, they haven't lost a game at home all season. They are 4-0. The Colts, on the other hand, one thing I can say about Anthony Richardson, 10 of 32, 175 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. I know he just came back from injury, but that stat line and looking at the game and seeing him come out of the game when he was tired, patting his head and saying, "Coach, I need a break. I need a break." He shouldn't have done that. And I'm saying I was saying, and I'm pretty sure everybody else was saying, what is Anthony Richardson doing now? He might need a new conditioning coach. He might need to change what he is eating off the field, because everybody out there on the field gets tired from time to time. If you need a break, call timeout. That's what the timeouts are there. And I guess that he needed a break, but didn't call timeout, and all of a sudden everybody was like out of sorts. I was even wondering, I'm like, what is Anthony Richardson doing? But all in all, the organization, they was okay with it. But as far as a fan and football viewers all alike, Anthony Richardson, you have got to stay in there. You have got to stay in there. Call a timeout. If you need a breather, have somebody come on the field and give you some Gatorade. That way you can that way you can stay on the field. But coming off the field for one play and then coming back in, it really wasn't a good look. But all in all, that is not what lost the game. What lost the Colts the game was third down. 2 of 13 on third down. And also turnovers. There was a turnover at the end of, well, a little bit towards the end of the first half where Anthony Richardson threw an interception and the Colts had the lead. And if they would have kept the ball, they would have went up into at halftime. They would have went up by 10. It would have been 13-3 instead of excuse me. No, sorry. That was it would have been 14-13 at the half. But Anthony Richardson threw that interception and the Colts left out of halftime. Well, left out of the first half without any points. So that is what cost them the game, and not being efficient on third down is what cost them the game. Now, they went for it twice on fourth down and converted both times, but like I've said, there's a time for teams to go for it on fourth down, and then there's a time to put your kicker out there. A team that constantly goes for it on fourth down, that means two things. You don't believe in your kicker, or you believe that your defense won't be able to stop the opponent's offense. Now, as far as the Colts concerned, they were able to, I wouldn't say stop the Texans, but neutralize the Texan offense. And this game was theirs for the taking. Obviously, they ended up losing it, and this is a division game. If you lose division games, it's hard to come back at the end of the season and get a playoff spot. So as far as the Colts, they let one slip away. The Texans, they are fortunate that they won this game. They really are. So that's all I have for the Colts and Texans game. The next game I want to cover is the New Orleans Saints and the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, this was a blowout in all means. It was a blowout. Justin Herbert, he had an efficient day. 20 of 32, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Spencer Rattler and all of the other New Orleans Saints quarterbacks didn't have a good day. Saints, after week 2, everybody was saying that the Saints could be a team that's a force to be reckoned with. Now, all of these injuries later, with Derek Carr being out, the Saints need to just pack up because their season is over. It really is. Their season is over. They in a span of 6 weeks, they went from a team that's a force to be reckoned with to on the brink of packing up and getting ready for a vacation as soon as Thanksgiving. So, New Orleans Saints, what they need to do, start getting prepared for the 2025 NFL draft and getting you a legitimate quarterback, because Spencer Rattler, he is a career backup in my eyes. I see him as that. And Taysom Hill, he is not a quarterback. He is a gadget guy. That's what he is. He's a gadget guy. Now, as far as when it comes to the stats on this game, third down, both teams were pretty much the same. Saints were 2 of 16 on third down. The Chargers were 3 of 12 on third down. Now, where the Chargers won this game at was most of their possessions. They scored field goals on them. So, hey, anything that you can do to get the lead and keep the lead, that is what the Chargers are doing. So they kicked 3 field goals. Well, excuse me. They kicked 5 field goals this game. And they scored a touchdown and had a 2-point conversion. No, excuse me. They had a safety. So this game right here with the Chargers, I expected them to win this game. I didn't expect this game to be close. And frankly, it wasn't close because outside of those 2 field goals that the Saints made, this game was never close. And fortunately, the Saints, they scored in the first quarter off of a mishap from the Chargers punter. If it wasn't for that, they would have just had 6 points. So this game, the Chargers did what they had to do in winning this game. We all know that the Saints are one of those bottom of the barrel teams now. That early season success that they had is pretty much out the window at this point. And they just need to start getting ready for next season. Now, the next game I want to cover is the Buffalo Bills and the Seattle Seahawks. The Buffalo Bills, I believe they are the best team in the AFC East. Nobody is going to come close to beating the Bills in the AFC East. Miami Dolphins, they just got Tua back. New England Patriots, we know that they are a shell of themselves. New York Jets, we know that they are currently a shell of themselves. Now, the New York Jets have one of the easiest remaining schedules in the NFL. Now, just because you have the easiest remaining schedule doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to win all of those games. But I digress. I'm going to get back to the Bills and Seahawks. This game right here, Josh Allen had a good day, 200. He threw the ball 34 times, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Geno Smith, 21 of 29, 212 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Running game was non-existent for the Seattle Seahawks. Running game for the Buffalo Bills was like a well-oiled machine. And also, when it comes to third down situations in this game, the Bills were just efficient, very efficient. 8 of 15 on third down. The Seahawks, 1 of 7 on third down. The Seattle Seahawks, starting the season, they were 3-0. That's why I say early season success can only mean 2 things. Either you are going to be a team that is a force to be reckoned with consistently, or you are fortunate to play against inferior competition. Now, I think the Seattle Seahawks benefited from playing against inferior competition because when they played against teams like the 49ers, and just like I said, for the Bills in that case example, they have a tough time. They have a tough time generating offense against teams like the San Francisco 49ers and the Buffalo Bills. They do. But when it comes to the Seattle Seahawks, I have them as a wild card team, and I don't have them doing much when they get into the playoffs because Seahawks, they are just a slightly above average team with a slightly above average quarterback. That's what Geno Smith is to me, a slightly above average quarterback. So that's all I have for the Buffalo Bills and the Seattle Seahawks. The next game I want to cover is the Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos. Carolina, they put Bryce Young back at the helm. Bryce Young, they never should have took Bryce Young out of the starting lineup. But with Dave Canales, he is a guy that's a first year coach that's trying anything, and I don't blame him. But if Bryce Young is your cornerstone piece for years to come, why mess with his progression and process? We all know that the Carolina Panthers wasn't going to do anything this season. That's why they're 1-7. But this team, it isn't constructed to win right now. We all know that. And they're not even constructed right now to have consistent success. Now, that one game that they won was against Las Vegas. And we all know that Las Vegas is quarterback by committee over there. That's what it is for the Raiders. It's quarterback by committee. Now, in this game, Denver Broncos, Bo Nix, I like what I'm seeing from him. He's very efficient. Broncos, you have your cornerstone piece for the foreseeable future. 28 of 37. Bo Nix was 28 of 37, 284 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Broncos are 5-3. I said before the season started, I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos win 10 games, and they are halfway there. Most people were telling me they were like the Broncos winning 10 games this year. They was like, that's a stretch. But one thing I can say is that I know my football history and I know what I'm talking about. When it comes to a Sean Payton-led team, you can always project them to have 2, maybe 3 more wins than the projection clearly states. So this game, Panthers, not efficient on third down, 5 of 14. Broncos, 11 of 17 on third down. And that's where basically this game was won. This game was won before halftime because it was 28-7 then. Fourth quarter, basically the Broncos were just preserving the lead, not trying to let the Panthers have a resemblance of a comeback, and they did just that. The Broncos are 5-3 after 8 games, and this is exactly where I thought that the Broncos would be. I actually thought after 8 games they would be 4-4. So they are surprising me even a little bit after this game. The next game I want to cover is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, Kansas City Chiefs, without a doubt, are the best team in the NFL right now because the defense, they are only allowing 18 points per game. The offense, they are only averaging 25 points per game. So they right around their average in every game. The Raiders' concern is Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is not a long-term answer, and I've been saying that every week. And Gardner Minshew is just proving my facts. 24 of 30, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Patrick Mahomes, 27 of 38, 262 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. The rushing game for the Chiefs, it was decent. They had 82 yards. The running game for the Raiders was basically non-existent. On third down for this game, the Chiefs, they were more efficient than the Las Vegas Raiders. The Chiefs were 12 of 16 on third down. The Raiders were 6 of 13 on third down. So the Raiders, we know that they are a quarterback by committee. You don't know if it's going to be Aiden O'Connell this week or Gardner Minshew. You don't know. So that's one thing that the Raiders, they have to get done. They have to get done in the upcoming draft, drafting them a quarterback, because in a division like the AFC West, every team has a legitimate quarterback. The Kansas City Chiefs, the LA Chargers, the Denver Broncos. The only team that doesn't have one is the aforementioned Las Vegas Raiders. So, congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs on being 7-0. If they win 3 more games, they will have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and they will win their division for a 9th straight year. That is an accomplishment in and of itself. And all in all, that was a good divisional game. I expected it to be close, with the Chiefs winning it in the end, and that's exactly what they did. The next game I want to cover is the Chicago Bears and Washington Commanders. Now, at this game, if you look at this score, if you look at the final score, you would say that this was basically a field goal fest. And it basically looked like that for about, maybe I'll say, 59 minutes and 59 seconds of this game. It really did, because nobody had control of this game. You had the Bears that couldn't do nothing the first half, come out in the second half, take the lead at one point in the second half, and then we all know the last play of the game, when the Bears thought they won it and one of their cornerbacks told Commanders fans to go home and was showboating already before the time expired. And then after the time expired, the Commanders won the game on the last play. So, the Commanders, they are 6-2 right now. Currently the leaders of the NFC East. This is the Commanders' best season since 2008, when they started off the season 5-1. Jaden Daniels, he is the guy for the Washington Commanders. 21 of 38, 326 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. Caleb Williams, he had a decent game. He had a bad game. So, 10 of 24. 131 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. One thing about the Bears offense, it was just inept. It was just inept. They couldn't get any first downs. It took almost a quarter and a half for them to get a first down. And then when they would get a first down in the first half, they wouldn't put up any points. So, this game right here, it's a tale of two teams that are in the same exact boat. You got the Commanders and the Bears, who are led by first-year quarterbacks, and the fan bases of both of these teams are believing that they can make it to the playoffs, and which they can. Now, is it going to happen? It remains to be seen, but this was an entertaining game in and of itself. One thing about this, third down in this game was very critical in this game, with it being so close. The Bears were 2 of 12 on third down in this game. The Commanders were 5 of 15 on third down in this game. So, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a playoff game. If we see both of these two teams playing against each other in the playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised, because both of these teams have the same blueprint. Congratulations to the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders are a force to be reckoned with. And that is no understatement, because the Commanders are here to stay, with Jaden Daniels at the helm. The next game I want to cover is the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. My dearly beloved Cowboys, we couldn't do it. We just couldn't do it. Dak Prescott, 25 of 38, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Those 2 interceptions proved very costly in this game. Brock Purdy, 18 of 26, 260 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Rushing game, San Francisco, that's what basically won this game, because the Cowboys, they can't stop the run. The 49ers had 223 yards on the ground. Dallas Cowboys had 56. Brock Purdy, he had as many rushing yards as the Dallas Cowboys had rushing yards as a team, 56. This game, turnovers and third down play is what lost the game for the Cowboys. They were 4 of 12 on third down, and the 49ers were 8 of 16 on third down. So, but what the Cowboys did, even though they were down by 2 scores in the fourth quarter, and when they cut it to 6, I was saying to myself, I'm like, are the Cowboys really going to do this? So I was just looking at this game, and when they got the possession back late in the game to go down and win the game, they called 4 straight pass plays that went nowhere. The Cowboys offensively, Cowboys, sometimes they look atrocious. All the time, most of the time, the Cowboys look atrocious. You have no resemblance of a run game. You expect Dak Prescott to carry this team, will this team to victory. But if you don't have a run game, you're not going to make it very far throughout the season. And the Cowboys, possibly, they might have to take a back seat this year and just get ready for next season. That's what I think. Cowboys, hey, they are a below average team. That's what they are, a below average team. The 49ers, they are an above average team that is dealing with injuries right now. That's all. I would not be surprised. I expect the 49ers to still be in the thick of things come later on in the season when we get to December and in early January. Okay. The last game I want to talk about is the Monday Night Football game that we had last night between the New York Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers. One more thing before I get out of here. As far as injuries, it was a lot of injuries that happened throughout the week 8 slate of games. Hopefully all of those players can come back speed. I wish all of those players that got injured this week a speedy recovery, and hopefully they can come back as fast as possible. Now, the last game of the week was last night between the Giants and Steelers. This game right here, it was a field goal fest in the first half. No team could really gain control. And I mean, the Steelers really didn't gain control of this game until they were up by 14 points. It was 23-9 early in the third quarter. 23-9. And I'm saying to myself, I'm like, okay, the Steelers have control of this game because the Steelers defense, they're not going to let offenses just have a field day on them. The Steelers defense is too prime and they have too much experience to let a team come in there and just have a field day on them. Now with the Giants, offensively, they are anemic at times. They really are anemic. Daniel Jones, 24 of 38, 264 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Russell Wilson, The term letting Russ cook is coming back. 20 or 28, 278 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Both teams had the same amount of rushing yards, but where the Giants lost this game at is particularly turnovers, and even more turnovers. And also, when it comes to penalties too, the Giants had 11 penalties, the Steelers had 5 penalties. And the Giants, they turned the ball over twice in this game. And it led to touchdowns for the Steelers immediately. So the Giants, in this case, they 2-6, one of the worst teams in all of the NFL. They are right there with the Miami Dolphins, right there with the Carolina Panthers, and they are right there with I can't say that they are right there with the Arizona Cardinals, but everybody knows when I say bottom of the barrel teams are teams just like the Giants. That's all. But the Steelers, on the other hand, I commend Mike Tomlin for starting off the season with Justin Fields and having the courage to switch from Justin Fields to Russell Wilson. And ever since he switched to Russell Wilson, the Steelers offense have more of a offensive punch now. They putting the ball in the end zone more often than not with Russell Wilson at the helm. The Steelers are 6-2. They are still in the thick of it. Will they be able to make the playoffs? It remains to be seen. And with that, those are my reactions to Week 8 of the 2024 NFL season. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, click the notification bell to get notified of all of my reaction videos, shows, and other content. And also follow Key City Sports on TikTok. And remember one last thing, the key is always on time.